Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long goes 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends used to bug him. Long goes 1975.
Hey YouTube, Lumber's Post 1975, and yeah, welcome to... I don't want this to be a scaremongering video, this is not what it's about, but as with any changes in YouTube over the years, you know, generally we're always a bit apprehensive and fear them, mainly because, and this is really bad on this front with YouTube, a complete lack of transparency and vagueness in the full details that it offers you. But ultimately is the end on the cards for certain YouTube channels, of which I consider myself to be part of that bracket that would have trouble under these new things. Is this guaranteed to happen? As with anything, no. It's the complete lack of transparency and real detail in these conditions that make me of the state of mind where I feel a little bit up in the air. I feel a little bit, you know, what, promises does this platform make to someone like me that I am welcome on me. I have a place on here, because YouTube, you know, before Google and that, it always prided itself on broadcast yourself, a platform for everyone, and obviously any business needs to make money, and Google makes a loss on YouTube because the sheer amount of servers and stuff they have to run. So I can understand from that perspective, because the title obviously, which is if I don't make YouTube any money, will I be terminated? But obviously it's expensive running these things and they don't make a loss anyway, so you can understand that they want to claw as much money back as possible. But again, I don't want to sound a broken record here. It is this faintness of, you know, facts and terms and conditions and full explanation behind what is there that makes me of this state of mind and, well, a little bit concerned. Now, I've worked most of this out by going into the, because anyone who uploads videos recently has seen that it says you are now by law required to express whether your content is for children or not children, which doesn't bother me. I've got a potty mouth, so I got no problem saying it's not for children. And that's a legal obligation, I get that. But for channels who fall into grey areas of the content they produce, you know, like educational content or just debate and discussion, but on adult terms, such as if you produce videos about the history of the Holocaust, is that for children or is that not for children? Some people would argue, no, that's not, because of the graphic nature of the material feature within it. But other people would argue, but they teach this at schools, so therefore is it for children? It's completely all over the shop. Another amount of information I found out about this, which led me to go into this new studio and drill down and find all the parts and the information that is there, was from watching videos by The Quartering, which is an absolutely fantastic channel, and he expressed his concern, which is, I want my channel to be reached by as many people as possible. So, do I set it for not for children, or do I set it for children, knowing that the bite in the ass thing, if I fall foul of this new system, is, and this is in the information, you will be expected, or you could receive up to $42,000 in fines if you do not meet the terms and conditions and break these new laws. I forget the name, but there are new laws coming into power from, I guess January the 1st, but that's when YouTube start enforcing these new terms and conditions. And their answer would be, if you aren't aware, because this is in there, I found this, if you aren't aware what these terms and conditions are you may break, you might want to consider hiring a lawyer. That's awfully nice of you, YouTube. Don't print exactly what these terms and conditions are, what this new law is, or how it affects you. You know, bearing in mind that 3/4 of the people who make content on your platform have full-time work and are not super rich people, and hiring a lawyer would be something that they would reserve for issues in their life that they consider a little bit more important than social media. You know, divorce, things like that, being sued, going to court. Not to pursue a hobby, but your advice to anyone who is on here making content as a hobbyist is to hire a lawyer. That's pants. And the Quartering mentioned this, which is, if you're a channel like him, yeah, so what are your options? And this, well, I'm glad one of them is an kind of an automatic apply or fix, but if you've got, like me, 2,000 videos, your options for setting, because each one has to be independently, separately marked, you know, as, you know, not suitable or suitable for children. There are 3 options. Go through every single one of them manually, review it yourself inside, yeah, that is suitable for children, or that's not, and mark it accordingly. 2, ask YouTube. Ask YouTube to review all your videos. Bearing in mind how YouTube completely demonetized people recently, bearing in mind how YouTube have just deleted channels recently, bearing in mind how YouTube are so late to responding or reinstating channels that have genuinely been hacked, that people have contacted Team YouTube on. And I mean massive, massive channels here. Am I the only person who doesn't really have much faith in asking, Google to independently review all my videos and then decide one way or another? Not pick them individually, as far as I can tell, just literally decide one way or another. And also, would they do that for me? I know it's an algorithm, but I don't make them any money. So all these things are a little tad concerning for people like me who don't make any money from it. Because here's the biggest thing buried down in these new details that they do give you. YouTube will retain the right to terminate channels or delete channels that do not make money for them. Right, well, as far as I can tell, you can still start channels, whether that happens on the 1st of January, I don't know, where you just make it. And then obviously once you start a channel, you don't advertise. You can't advertise until you've got, 4,000 minutes of footage, and even then YouTube has to determine whether it thinks that you are still viable for monetization, or your content is viable for monetization, and then you have to make enough money for them to consider that viable to them to not terminate your channel. So basically it is no longer going to be, again, this might just be they've just set the extremist of rules, terms and conditions, just to cover themselves, whatever laws that they have to be applicable with from, government and, organizations and stuff like that. But, so, there is work within that area. I don't know. This is what I mean. This is what's in these new terms and conditions. It's quite scary. So, from my perspective, 8 years, I don't want to lose 8 years of a hobby. Hobby or not, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I look back upon the content I create, and I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. It may be super low budget, super near the end of, you know what, this is entry level YouTube, entertainment in video gaming of such, with, like I said, the production, the editing and the things I have. But I am very, very proud of it. So what are my options? Because I qualify for monetization, but I've never monetized and I've got nothing against people who do. I've never monetized, and I've never had any plan to, and I've always said to people, again, nothing against you who do, it's not for me, it's not for me. I don't want my audience to sit through ads and stuff like that. But now what are my options, having said that to people for 8 years that I won't monetize, to say, look, sorry, it's not for me, because it really wouldn't be. Of course it's not, Dave, they'll say, of course it's not, but you'll make money out of it. I mean, realistically, I would make absolutely piss all out of this hobby if I monetized anyway. That's the other reason I've never really bothered. But now do I have to turn around to the people, my subscriber base that I've massed over these 8 years of never advertised and say, look, sorry, it's not for me, but I'm gonna have to advertise now, because if I don't make YouTube money, they might terminate my channel. And then go against one of my core promises to my audience, who will probably just think he's lying, he's just doing it to make money, because if you watch a channel and you don't make content, then you're not going to be aware of these changes, particularly these ones I'm talking about in this video. They're quite scary. You're just going to think he's given it all this because he's said it for this many. I'm not saying I will advertise. I don't know. I guess we just sit around and see what happens, which is something else that I don't like, the uncertainty of just how extreme all these rules and all these new things they mention in these terms and conditions actually be. I don't like that. I don't like that uncertainty. There are people out there who do this for a living, which don't have huge subscriber numbers. So what is this figure? And then I guess if YouTube put that out there overnight, what the figure is, they'd probably see loads of people quit anyway, because they could never get there. And even they wouldn't want that, even though they will be the one to terminate channels, because ultimately, I mean, they don't really know how these new terms and conditions that they're, I guess in their defence, saying they're being forced to apply. They don't know how they're going to affect them and how it affects how much money they make. So this whole thing is a big mess. And again, take it with a pinch of salt, but you can drill down in this new studio thing that they're introducing. Just click on the more details when it says you can now, you are now being forced to, by law, determine whether your content is for kids or not. Oh, there was a third option, by the way. You can literally just say, tick a box. I have yet to find it, because I need to find it so I can tick it and say none of my content is for children, to cover myself under this new law. But then immediately, simply because of accidents by search or people not realising, you probably never would click on me again, that my content does have bad language in it and stuff like that. So you could argue it's not for children, even though most kids I know swear like a trooper far more than I do. But then that means immediately your hits are going to take, you know, your views are going to take a massive hit, which then if you do advertise, it's going to affect the money you make, which is then going to possibly put you on the list. This is what I mean, we don't know, of channels that YouTube will delete. The whole thing is a big uncommunicated mess. If you know of it, or you know of another website that explains it better than me, or better than YouTube does, I should say, by all means let me know down below and correct me on any of this, because this is not about being scaremongering. This is just how poorly it's worded, and lack of transparency as usual on YouTube or Google's parts means I really don't know what to make of it, apart from this huge amount of uncertainty that, do I lose my channel if I don't advertise? And if I do advertise, do I piss off my core audience base, which will reduce the number of people who watch me anyway, and probably therefore my subscribers, as I said, if you don't make content, you're not to know that what I'm saying is true. It could just be an excuse to cover myself so I can make money, you know, and that's not what it is. But like I said, you don't know that because you don't see this side of YouTube unless you watch specific videos like the quartering. So the whole thing is, what I suddenly am a lot less enthusiastic about YouTube, knowing that, will I still be here this time next year? And that would be absolutely gutting. And therefore it's not even a case of, do I start again? Because what's the point? You can't start again. Or does it let you start again and say, right, you've got a one shot here, make it to where you're allowed to legally advertise and start advertising, and then we'll see if you make us enough money. If not, I don't know, this whole thing, and they've not explained anything, this whole thing is just a complete big fat pile of mess, because that's how YouTube like to do stuff, you know. How do you determine if you're not, you know, if it's not obvious like me, what, you know, what your content is? Is it appropriate for kids or not? How much money do you need to make YouTube before they consider you viable? You know, and don't delete. I don't know. We don't even know how much of this is going to be played out, because there's been many changes along the years with Google and YouTube that have never turned out to be as bad as we thought it is. But there are laws, and then I forget the name of them, that are causing the cause behind, or the reason behind this cause of change that is going to happen and going to make it a very, very different platform from January onwards. As always, this is not about scaremongering. I just feel very uncertain, but I would love to know what you think, particularly if you can shed some light on this whole, what does the start of the year and all these new rules and laws in place actually mean for little Joes? I mean, tiny little Joes like me who don't advertise, because I guess if I have to, just to keep my platform, then I have to. That will alienate some of my audience. I know that. I'm not saying even if I will, but I'm just saying if I have to, I'm going to have to consider it and think very hard about it, and that will alienate my audience. But then is it even worth it? Because if it's not going to make the money anyway, I'm going to be terminated anyway. So why not go out as I came in, you know, being happy with not having to advertise? I don't know. Like I said, this whole thing is a mess. I'd love to know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.